record. Hello and welcome to everyone across the nation joining today's workshop on how to retrieve test results. This workshop focuses on using CASAS eTests online together with TOPS Pro Enterprise Online to filter, sort, and export test results. Performing these functions is available with both basic and enhanced access. In other words, no TOPS Pro Enterprise license is required. Now, coordinator or proctor certification is required to retrieve results directly from the CASAS eTest application. However, any user you allow can be granted access to TOPS Pro Enterprise to retrieve results with or without coordinator or proctor certification. Now, folks, as mentioned in my other workshops, this is one of 23 complementary CASAS Online implementation workshops. You are not expected to attend all 23 workshops as indicated by the Citrix Online system. This is a training room set up to conduct all 23 workshops. We do highly recommend attending as many as possible to learn about best practices, ask questions, and to become confident using the online system. I encourage you to either project your voices directly into the meeting room if you are equipped with a headphone with mic. And if you are not, then please feel free to enter questions directly into the chat box. I will do my best to monitor the chat box throughout today's workshop. We have help documentation available on our website under Training and Support, eTests, Help Documentation, and TOPS Pro Enterprise Help Documentation. You will want to bookmark these as your electronic go-to resources, particularly the CASAS eTest Online Guide, which provides the information covered in these workshops. Today's workshop will cover Section 6 for test results. Let me increase this here for your viewing preference. Scroll down. Right at the bottom here under Test Results, Section 6. Before we get into today's workshop, I do want to point out where you will find access to CASAS eTest Online as well as TOPS Pro Enterprise Online. This is the main domain name address for our online system, and this is where you will what you will enter when your agency is set up in an online database. This is commonly referred to as the production server, in other words, where live data is produced. We also offer a simulation server for which we will be using for this workshop. This is a fictional database called Rolling Hills Adult School and is available to anyone wanting to experiment and explore our online system without risk of compromising live data. You will find information on how to access the simulation server from eTest Help Documentation, the Getting Started section. And here's the document for the simulation server. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move on into today's workshop using the simulation server. Today's workshop begins the transition from using or working primarily in CASAS eTest and now giving you an introduction to using or accessing and using TOPS Pro Enterprise. We're going to start in the CASAS eTest application on a demonstration on how to retrieve results directly from CASAS eTests. I'm going to sign in as now, by the way, both coordinators and proctors have the ability to retrieve results. In fact, I'll just go ahead and leave that as a proctor because proctors may be asked proctors may be asked to generate a list of all test takers and their results from a testing session. So the proctor can produce a group test results report. directly from CASAS eTest Online, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So let's go ahead and role play as if we are a proctor. And here again, as a reminder, both proctors and coordinators have access to the students menu and the test results menu. Let's look at the students menu first. The students menu essentially lists all students in your online database in the current program year. In other words, students have some activity associated with them. Let's see here. Yeah, associated with them to display information about those students who are enrolled or have some type of activity in the current program year. Okay. Now, let's see, by default, this changes. Okay, I believe the default in opening this lister is by site. Notice it starts with the East Campus. I believe it's by site and then by student ID. Each of these columns is sortable. If you click on them, you can sort the entire list. Okay, so there's student ID as well as student name if you want to alphabetize, and it will only, in this case, eTest is limited on your filtering and sorting capabilities. So when you open up the student menu, you will see a list of students, and this is commonly referred to as a students lister. Okay, so just as you see me doing, I'm filtering, or not filtering, is sorting by columns. Right now I'm going to simply sort, let's see, we'll just sort by site at this point because I see a student that I want to go into. Here is my demonstration. Okay. If you have a specific student in mind, and a scenario could be that, say, a proctor is working with a student, trying to help the student get started with testing, and perhaps it's a post-testing session, and the student, for some reason, cannot enter or is not entering their ID as it pre-exists in the database. Perhaps they're mistyping one digit or have inverted or not inverted, but reversed order of the digits in their ID, or is missing a digit in their ID. The proctor can bring up the students list, expand the filter, and my recommendation is basically to search on the first name. Generally, first names don't change, last names do. Or you can search on any portion of an ID, but I always have good luck searching by first name. So I'm going to bring up, and you don't have to type in the entire name, you can type in a portion of the name. Now, hitting the enter key does not do anything to query the data, so you will need to be mindful of the refresh button over here on the far right and click refresh to query the data for your filtered results. Okay, and so now you see Trayla Ford here filtered, and the proctor then can verify the student's ID as it exists in the database, as well as if there is any question about what the student last took, what were their last tests. You can click on tests and see any tests associated with that student in the current program year. So notice that Trayla Ford's last test was in September. There is also an expandable filter here that you can search on specific modalities if you're looking for a specific test, or tests in a prior program year. By removing the current program year filter, you can refresh to see if there are any tests associated with Trayla in the prior program year. Okay, but by default, the listers adhere to students who have activity in the current program year. All right, and just an FYI, folks, these listers will, by default, will not display any locators. But if you need assurance or proof that the student has taken a locator, Then you can click locator. Let's see, maybe Trayla hasn't taken a locator here. Let's just remove that. Yeah, so she hasn't had a locator, so her testing is probably something that has been carried over. This test is probably reflective of previous test results for her. Okay, so folks, this is the extent of retrieving, well, not retrieving results. Well, I guess you could consider it that. If you wanted to retrieve results specific for a specific student, you can do so. You can also export this information out onto an Excel spreadsheet. That is in a CSV file format. That is your only option at this point. Okay. Now, as a reminder, please use the navigation buttons or links in the upper right corner when you are using the CASAS test application. Otherwise, if you click the back browser arrow, that automatically kicks you out of the application, and then you have to sign in again. Now, I'm going to go quickly over to test results. The test results menu displays a list of tests. This is commonly referred to as the tests lister. Here again, this is, well, actually, now this doesn't appear to default to the site. It actually is, well, let's see, I'm not really sure how it's defaulting at this point. You can't see any real rhyme or reason to this. The dates are even out of order here. But in the test results lister, here again you can click on any of these columns to sort the columns if that's helpful. If you want to bring up the current day's test results, notice today is March 25th, and you see test results here for March 25th. Okay, so it appears as though this is showing you test results program year to date, okay, starting in June through today. All right. Now here again, just like the students menu offers an advanced filtering options, the test results menu does likewise as well. So if you are asking your proctors or your coordinators to produce a list of students who were tested on a given day, let's say that we tested students here on 3/25, I query the results by clicking the refresh button. That now only displays students who have been tested on the March 25th. At this point, now the proctor or the coordinator can sort by either ID or name. The point being is that at the point before you export the information out onto an Excel spreadsheet, the way it displays in your lister view is how the information is exported onto an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Now, an FYI or note to self is that CSV files typically drop leading zeros when you open them up. So just be mindful of that or careful about that. Okay, now this file is not importable into a third-party registration system. It's just simply exporting the results, pulling the results out of the CASAS test application. Okay. That is the extent of retrieving results in eTest, and notice there is no menu that says reports. Okay, so if you want to consider the group test results, such as what I demonstrated on generating a list of students who were tested on March 25, you could consider that a report. It's really just an unformatted report. It's a list of students who were tested. So let me show you the identical information through the shared database with TOPS Pro Enterprise. I'll show you the same exact list of students as you see displayed here, and I will show you the same exact list of test results as you see displayed here. Okay. Now, to open TOPS Pro Enterprise, you have a couple of options here. You can click directly on TE Client from your web browser window, and this will open up the TE Client. The very first time that you access TOPS Pro Enterprise on a given machine, a client version of the online application will install on the local machine, and it's a very lightweight application. The purpose is to connect you or initiate connection to the CASAS hosted server. So that's what a client version is. Okay, so by default, a shortcut will be placed on your desktop, and of course you can move this shortcut anywhere on your desktop. I typically drag and drop my shortcut down to my system tray here that typically displays applications that I access frequently. And so that also allows you to keep windows open. Let's say you have CASAS eTests open perhaps to let's go back to, I'll just use the students lister as an example here. Let's say you have something open. Well, to open TE with keeping this open here, you can just simply click the TE icon. So I'm going to go ahead and launch TE. Before you actually log in, you do have access to the TE icon menu, which is simply connect or exit. So there's really not much options because you need to enter your login credentials before you can actually connect. You can actually exit the application from here. But what I really wanted to point out is that we have a help menu that is functional without logging in or signing in or connecting with TOPS Pro Enterprise. And you want to pay particular attention to release notes. Anytime we push out an update to the online system, you will see displayed right here just above this unauthorized access message, you will see release notes are available under the help menu. And so it's advisable to review the release notes. This is the way you will find out the most current updates, new features added, bug fixes, and so forth to the online system. Okay, if you launch your TE or application from a TE icon and attempt to log in, and we have pushed out an update, you may get an error message. I can't right away recall what that error message says, but chances are there's been an update and your client is not updated. So if that does occur, simply launch your web browser and click the TE link here. You do not have to install the existing client, just click TE client and the installing the update will automatically take place. Okay, so we're going to access the simulation server. As you see here, we have several servers, so please be mindful of the server for which you are attempting to connect. As mentioned earlier, the eTestsOnline.org URL, that is the main domain name address. This is the production server where live data is produced. So this generally will be the server that you would be accessing when attempting to access your data, your online database. For the simulation server, you will need to select simulation. Okay, we do have separate servers for those of you joining us from Florida. If you are associated with Miami-Dade specifically, Miami-Dade is so humongous that they actually have their own separate server. We just branched out and gave Washington State their own server as well. But again, the main domain name address is used and then followed by the state name in this case, or Miami-Dade in that case. Okay, so I'm going to access the simulation server. The agency ID for Rolling Hills is 4908. I am going to sign on as an administrator. There are several types of logins, and we don't have time to go over those now. We will have workshops on user accounts as well as access groups, and we at that time will touch on coordinator access to TE, or proctor access to TE, or teacher access to TE, as well as administrators or database managers. Okay, so that will be coming soon. Once you enter your login credentials, click Connect. Now, folks, by the way, these are the same exact login credentials that you would expect to enter into accessing CASAS e-tests. Okay, so if I enter the same exact credentials, the only difference is that with e-tests you are not selecting a server because you are already directed to the appropriate server from the URL in the web browser. And I can actually log in to CASAS e-test with those same exact credentials. Okay. When TE opens, you essentially are presented with a blank slate upon which to work. Again, you have access to the TE icon. You can lock your application if you happen to be walking away and don't want to log out. Say you have screens open and you don't want to close those or exit the application. It is important to go ahead and lock it to protect privacy. Okay, simply log back in when you want to reconnect. Okay, the best way to exit the application it is advisable to disconnect from the server. We have users who just simply click the red X, and there's a risk in doing that because the application could be quickly launched again and accessed under your credentials if the server has not been notified that you have exited the application. Okay, you can easily change your password through TOPS Pro Enterprise as well as changing your password through CASAS e-tests. Okay, so I'm just showing you a kind of essentially a mirror version of accessing the same type of data, same type of functions in both applications. We have options here available and we will visit those in another workshop. The purpose of this workshop is to show you the correlation between retrieving results from e-tests and retrieving results in Enterprise. And so to do that, I'm going to go directly to the records menu. The records menu simply contains records as they are associated with students, classes, programs, tests, and so forth. To show you an exact match to the students lister that you just saw a moment ago in CASAS e-test, we are going to access the students demographics lister. This is a list of student records in the current program year. There is a filter in place as depicted by the green lettering, and this list is contained to displaying students who have some activity in the current program year. You can always return to any prior program year to view student records in any prior program year, or remove the current program year filter altogether to display all students across all program years. Okay. There is a default schema to the column configuration. When you first install TOPS Pro Enterprise, all lists of data have pre-configured schemas. So in this case, the students demographics lister has site, student ID, a name column. That drives me crazy, so I'm just going to show you a quick method to customize this lister. And you can also resize your columns. But let me go to the name column lister here. I'm right-clicking with my mouse, and I can add all of these columns to my students demographics lister. Okay, that's quite a lot, but for right now, I'm simply going to show first name. I'm going to repeat that and show middle name. And I'm going to repeat that and show last name. So now I've split the name column header and I no longer need the combined column here. So again, I'm going to right click and hide that column. And I'm also going to alphabetize by first name. Okay, so now you see an alphabetical list. Some records are missing a name. So I'm just going to actually kind of scroll up a little bit here. Okay, so I think you get the idea. Folks, if you are comfortable or have used Excel, worked with Excel spreadsheets, this list of data functions just like an Excel spreadsheet. You can drag and drop columns. Let's say you want to always have last name before, drag it a little bit more. last name before first name. You can do that. You can drag and drop columns. You can, and if you want to alphabetize by last name, okay, that's fine. So now I've done that. The point being is once you get the columns in the configuration of your of what you prefer, of the data that you always prefer to see every time you open up your TOPS Pro Enterprise client and you are viewing your students lister, then we have, you can save that schema. Let's see, where's the, oh, here, I'm sorry, edit schema. So we are actually editing the default. So we're going to edit this. You can save this as your default schema, or you can save different types of schemas. I typically just simply save it as my default, but of course if you want to preserve the default setting, that's fine, and then from that point forward you can always select the different schemas that are saved. Okay? All right. That's the extent right here that I'm going to show you the students demographics lister, which is identical to the CASAS e-test students demographics lister. If I say alphabetized, well, this is by first name, Abraham Sharon. If I did it here, then it'll show Abraham Sharon. So same identical data. Okay? All right, I'm going to go to records. Well, I'm sorry, let me show just one other thing here. Let's see. I don't know if you know, actually I will show you how to filter. To sort your columns, it's these little tiny up and down arrows to sort your columns, and then to filter per column, each column has its own filter icon. You can also set up a more comprehensive filter by using the filtering options here. But I'm just going to keep it simple and sort by Trela, as you saw me do in CASAS e-test, and that will display Trela Ford's record. If I double-click on Trela Ford's record, that brings up a split screen to show information specific to Trela Ford, such as her demographic information here, and this is information that is can be collected directly through CASAS e-tests online. To populate this information here, as well as you can add additional information for Trela as well, such as if you want to edit any of these sections to fill in additional information, perhaps correct an name or ID, whatever the case may be, so you can edit per section. You can also change the entire screen to edit mode, and then everything is editable at the same time. Now, over in the navigator, when you see a split screen, that generally opens up what we call a navigator. So this helps you to navigate to records that are directly tied to Trela Ford by her unique ID. All records associated with students are connected by the ID solely. Okay, so in program years, this shows that Trela Ford in your online database has activity in the current program year. So all students that display in this students demographics lister, remember it's contained to the current program year, this will show all program years that Trela Ford has had activity in your database. There are other records here, and we will visit those in subsequent workshops. I'm just going to go directly to tests to show you the identical information that we saw through the CASAS e-test user interface. You will see it also displayed here. Trela Ford, if you recall, her last test was in September, and these are the results of her last test. Okay, and you can export this information out onto a CSV file, just like you saw in CASAS e-test, as well as you can export to a third-party registration system, as well as you can print her results right then and there. Now let's show, in a way, a parallel to that, to go directly to the tests lister. The tests lister. Here again, the lister this is the default schema. If you want to split out the name column header, go ahead and do so. And again, you can drag and drop columns. You can pre-sort. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it as is right now. You have assessment date, the form, the scaled score. Notice by default the raw score doesn't show, so if you want to add raw score, go ahead and select raw score. So now you have that reference there. Accurate, this is tests that fall within accurate range. If you have any results that did not fall within accurate range, in other words, a preface with a no, that means that these students should have been tested because their scores fell below the accurate range, and retesting in that case and that scenario is required. Okay, conservative estimate is at the top end of a scale score or the accuracy results of any assessment form. Okay, and so here in this column you want most of your results to be no. If you have a yes, that means that this student topped out at this particular level. In other words, they answered almost every single question correctly, or they correctly answered every single question. And so with conservative estimate results, retesting isn't required. However, it is highly recommended, especially if that's the student's first test into your program. You need more data, more background information on that student's skills or to identify areas of greatest need, whereas this really won't give you very many areas of greatest need. Okay, one other column that I'd like to recommend here to add is show terminate reason. And this is great when you get up and running with web-based testing. Now, this fictional database, to be honest, folks, is all from scanned in or hand-entered records. So all of the terminate reasons is normal. However, with CASAS eTest Online, you will get messages such as timed out. The student was taking a test and it simply timed out. They didn't get to the end of the test before the test timer expired. And that's perfectly normal and common, okay? A station request, this means if those of you who participated in the workshop on interrupting a test in progress, if you used the Control+E key command to interrupt a test in progress from the station, then to say abort or not abort, but score the test. If you abort a test, then the results are nowhere to be found, okay? But if you opt to end the test and score it now, then the results will display in the lister here with the notation of station request. So you would know that that test was ended and scored and recorded in the system. Console request, this is coming directly from the intervene button of the CASAS eTest application. And if you, again, those of you who participated in the interrupting tests in progress workshop saw me demonstrate how to use intervene to interrupt a test in progress, much like the Control-E key command directly at the testing station. So anyway, those notations will be here. So this is very helpful to reference. Here again, once you have your columns in the configuration to your preference, then be sure to save the schema so that way when you reopen the lister, it will automatically display with all of these columns and in the configuration in which you have saved it. Okay, so let's do another example here real quick to just end it. We'll just say that, let's bring up a like report or results that we did in CASAS eTests. So here again, here are the tests that were administered on March 25th. And you have a few options here for extracting this data from TOPS Pro Enterprise. You can export onto an Excel spreadsheet in a CSV file format, and this is identical to what you were able to extract directly from CASAS eTest. However, when you extract it from Enterprise, whatever is displaying here will be included in that export. And so such as, you know, this conservative estimate, accurate, terminate reason, okay, those columns, these, this part of the data associated with these test records is not available in CASAS e-test. Okay, so there's a slight difference, but the function of what I've shown you so far is identical, retrievable from both applications. Now, to take it a step further, you can print. You can print right then in here. You can do what's called an ad hoc report, and you can give your report a title. You can dictate the orientation of the report. You can also you can add all of these columns, or you can specify the order of the columns, such as if you want the site ID or student ID or site ID to go first and so forth. You don't have to bring all columns over, or you can move them over over one by one. Okay, let me just do name, let's see, full name here. I just want to show and scaled score. Assessment date, form, and scale score. Did I do scale score? Let's bring that down. Okay, and you can preview those results. And I recommend previewing rather than just printing right off. And so this is an example of an ad hoc report. Now here again, you can, I should have changed the title so that you got the idea, and I would say, test results for March 25th. Okay, and then I can submit this. Now notice that there doesn't appear to be any rhyme or reason to this report, except for I can see here, it's by form number. It looks like just simply by form number here. So if you want this alphabetized, then before you click the print button, then be sure to alphabetize it, and then just go back over here, preview this again, and then notice you have it in alphabetical order. From here, folks, you can print it, and your only option here is just go directly to print, as you see here, or you can export this, and this is where you have additional file type options. Notice the default is by PDF, portable document file. Then you also have Word document, PowerPoint, as well as the CSV, but you also have the general Excel workbook or worksheets available to where you can then export that information out. Okay. And of course you can, let's see, let's go here. When you have the print, of course, you can just print right then and there. The third option here is third-party export, folks. And so here again, whatever is displaying here, if you need to get these results entered into a third-party system, then you will want it, if that third-party system accepts the export file from TE, because it is a specified file format, then you would use the third-party export and use that there and export that out. But don't open it up because that will invalidate it as an exportable file. Folks, I have gone well over time. My apologies. There's a lot to cover in this workshop. And let's see, Carlos, you said, what about the grade equivalent? Oh, very good question, Carlos. I don't believe grade equivalent, grade level equivalent, it's not available in a to display in a column here. That's not a bad suggestion, and I'll pitch it to the development team to see if they can include it here. But grade level equivalent is reportable in a report, and that's we'll cover that. Carlos, I hope you're signed up for the next workshop in about 20 minutes. It's called it's an introduction to generating reports, and I'll show you a report that not only gives you the option to include grade level equivalency, but also a GED predictor. And I'll talk more about that when we go to generating basic reports. Okay. So folks, that's the basics on retrieving results. Do you have any questions before we end today's workshop? Alrighty then, I guess I'll take that as no questions needed at this time. Don't hesitate to contact me if you do have questions, and I hope to see most of you back, if not all of you, for the next workshop on an introduction to generating reports. Thank you so much for your time. See you in a short bit.